Hello everyone, my name is Austin Powers and I want to talk for a little bit about Ronald Reagan's Shuttle Challenger disaster address. The speech was given on the evening of January 28, 1986, after the Space Shuttle Challenger lifted off the Earth and exploded mid-flight that same morning. This speech is often considered one of the greatest speeches in American history, and with good reason. The speech was able to touch everyone in the country on a very deep level and bring them all together on that tragic day. The speech reached out to an audience of millions. Though the families of the people lost in the explosion were the ones hurting the most, the loss was a tragedy for the entire country. This made it all the more important for Reagan to be able to connect to everyone and find a way to ease the pain of that great tragedy, and that is exactly what he did. The speech uses predominantly pathos. It was a very emotional time for the country, and so the best way to connect to the people of the country would be through emotion. While reading through the speech, I noticed that Reagan uses anaphora a good bit in the speech. Several of his sentences began with the same keywords, they and it. He also, like many great speakers, used parallel structure in his sentences as a way to keep the audience's attention. And now, I wish to present to you, to the best of my ability, Ronald Reagan's Shuttle Challenger disaster address. Ladies and gentlemen, I plan to speak to you tonight to report on the State of the Union, but the events of earlier today have led me to change those plans. Today is a day for mourning and remembering. Nancy and I are pained to the core by the tragedy of the Shuttle Challenger. We know we share this pain with all of the people of our country. This is truly a national loss. 19 years ago, almost to the day, we lost 3 astronauts in a terrible accident on the ground, but we've never lost an astronaut in flight. We never have had a tragedy like this, and perhaps we've forgotten the courage it took for the crew of the shuttle. But they, the Challenger 7, were aware of the dangers, but overcame them and did their jobs brilliantly. We mourn 7 heroes: Michael Smith, Dick Scobie, Judith Resnick, Ronald McNair, Ellison Onizuka, Gregory Jarvis, and Krista McAuliffe. We mourn their loss as a nation together. For the families of the 7, we cannot bear as you do the full impact of this tragedy, but we feel the loss, and we're thinking about you so very much. Your loved ones were daring and brave, and they had that special grace, that special spirit that says, give me a challenge, and I'll meet it with joy. They had a hunger to explore the universe and discover its truths. They wished to serve, and they did. They served all of us. We've grown used to wonders in this century. It's hard to dazzle us. But for 25 years, the United States space program has been doing just that. We've grown used to the idea of space, and perhaps we forget that we've only just begun. We're still pioneers. They, the members of the Challenger crew, were pioneers. And I want to say something to the school children of America who were watching the live coverage of the shuttle's takeoff. I know it's hard to understand, but sometimes painful things like this happen. It's all part of the process of exploration and discovery. It's all part of taking a chance and expanding man's horizons. The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future, and we'll continue to follow them. I've always had great faith in and respect for our space program, and what happened today does nothing to diminish it. We don't hide our space program. We don't keep secrets and cover things up. We do it all up front and in public. That's the way freedom is, and we wouldn't change it for a minute. We'll continue our quest in space, and there will be more shuttle flights, more shuttle crews, and yes, more volunteers, more civilians, and more teachers in space. Nothing ends here. Our hopes and our journeys continue. I want to add that I wish I could talk to every man and woman who works for NASA or who worked on this mission and tell them, your dedication and professionalism have moved and impressed us for decades, and we know of your anguish. We share it. There's a coincidence today. On this day, 390 years ago, the great explorer Sir Francis Drake died aboard ship off the coast of Panama. In his lifetime, the great frontiers were the oceans, and a historian later said, he lived by the sea, died on it, and was buried in it. Well, today, we can say of the Challenger crew, their dedication was, like Drake's, complete. The crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger honored us by the manner in which they lived their lives. We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them, this morning, as they prepared for their journey and waved goodbye, and slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God. Thank you.